Very warm welcome to the March edition of a Team Coaching Circle. As always, it's great to see so many familiar faces and new joiners dialing into this conversation. My name is Agla Holton. I am team coaching practitioner and the host for Team Coaching Circle. And before we begin, and as usual, while we wait for people to land into this Zoom space, I wanted to share a few housekeeping notes. The session, as you see, is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with all members afterwards. And if you are using your AI note takers, unfortunately, we won't be able to allow them today, just to ensure that we have a smoother logistics for the session itself. For those who are new to the Team Coaching Circle, I just wanted to very briefly share what this initiative is all about. So Team Coaching Circle was created last year as a community of learners. Ultimately, we are looking to bring team coaches together beyond a very specific school or discipline or even accreditation body. It's a space which is open to all, and it's designed to explore the evolving, emergent field of team coaching. We meet usually on a monthly basis, and we do exchange knowledge. We share tools, learnings, case studies, real-time coaching interventions. And I'm delighted to remind that this initiative is supported by ICF Ireland chapter. And if you want to claim ICF CCE units, you can do so. And I will share the link in a chat window shortly. So to shift the gear, and I think that we have most of the people in the session today, I wanted to kind of dive into the content for the day. And we have a really exciting topic for our conversation, which is the intersection between team coaching and AI. I am truly delighted to introduce our speakers who will guide through this exploration. And we see Jazz, hi Jazz, on the spotlight, as well as Fabio. Very briefly about both speakers today. Jazz Rasool is a seasoned executive coach who has been exploring the intersection of AI and coaching. I think that long before it has become a trend, something around like more like 50 years ago, I was counting the years from your bio, Jazz. Jazz published peer-reviewed academic papers on AI, ethics, and technology-enhanced learning, where he was drawing from his experience in large-scale EU-funded projects. Jazz is also a founder and director of AI Coaching Alliance, which is a network of more than 450 coaches and researchers who are focused on AI and technology adoption in coaching space. Jazz will guide us through the Team Coaching 5.0 framework, and really looking forward to have this chat with you today, Jazz. Now, let me introduce Fabio. You also see him on the spotlight. He will be co-hosting the session alongside with Jazz. Fabio is the engineer turned executive and team coach, and he has a very extensive experience in Italy, UK, and Ireland. He's also director of innovation in ICF Ireland chapter, where he's blending the technical background with people-centered approach to coaching. Jazz, Fabio, delighted to have you both on the session today and look forward to 90 minutes together. With that, I want to invite you to take the floor and get us started. Over to you.
Okay, so I give you in 20 seconds the opportunity to Jess to present something will be, I think, very relevant, interesting, and I hope you can bring home a great takeaway from what Jess will share. I had already the opportunity to talk to Jess last year during the IC week, International Coaching Week, but I think today he has great news to share with us. So I mute myself, and I'm really happy to be part of this interesting, and thank Egle, and I remove myself from my spotlight as well. So the stage is yours.
Thanks. To begin with, Egle, we're going to do a little poll, I understand. Is that right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So what we would like to start with is the invite for you to share. What are your expectations for the day? And we're going to use a Mentimeter for that. You can see the instructions, the QR code, or you can type into your web browser menti.com alongside with this code, and we'll start generating the word cloud. Just to understand, what is your expectation for this conversation for today? So we'll take a moment for everyone to capture the code, and let me also post it into the chat box for those who are doing this through the web browser. And let me start presenting. What is it that we're harvesting from your input today? All right, keep those words coming in. We have a lot of participants.
Learning seems to be very much at the center of everything, and understanding. Networking, human-centric, integration of AI, leveraging AI, curiosity, learning, understanding, and community, deep understanding, collaboration with bots, being more comfortable with AI, human versus AI, human-centric AI role in team coaching.
Just one information for people that are not familiar, on the top of the left of the black screen of Zoom, you can swap between meeting, and you can see all the participants on this moment, the Jazz as is spotlighted. And the second one is, for example, now eggless screen. So you can swap, okay? You don't have to stay in one page.
Okay, I think that's enough. Do you think, Vigil? We got some static picture now of what's happening, and there's a big desire to learn and understand. The biggest words there are with those things, especially ethics, the future, and community, curiosity, insights, the tools. This seems to be the ones at the center. But there's some things at the edge which are also, I think, important for Industry 5.0, which is what we're going to be talking about today as well. Things like compassion, human-centric approaches, integration of AI, human differentiation. So there's quite a few things there, but at the center, people are here to learn, to understand, and they're curious about the insights, the ethics, and the future. Lovely.
Thank you very much, everyone. And just then to ask if you would like to swap to your slides, and or you would like to continue the overview.
We can just continue. We can use the Canva slides that we've set up.
Brilliant. Okay, so let me shift the screens and go back to the rich content space, which Jazz is here to share with us.
Do you want to bring that up, Echo? I don't have it on my screen at the moment.
Yeah, it's there. So
slides while I do the talking. You think you were right in that option?
Let me do that once again. Yep.
Okay. Great. Can everybody hear me okay in terms of my voice? I'm just going to check my microphone to make sure that it's as high as it could be. I see some people are not hearing me properly, but hopefully you can hear me better now. I've just turned up the microphone. All right, thank you everybody for coming along today. I'm focused very much on what coaching is in its simplest sense. In all the decades I've been doing it, I've realized that from my experience, what's really important is that clients at least get some kind of generation of insight when they come to a session for themselves. And hopefully that insight is going to be something that leads them to discover or recognize the potential they have within themselves, and hopefully to realize it as well. And once that potential has been realized or discovered, then it's great to actually enable it in terms of putting it into action and making a difference in the world, actually activating some kind of agency that will lead it to be of value in the world. Now, that's obviously just at the individual level when we're doing one-to-one sessions. But a big challenge is, how do we take insights collectively from a group of people or a team, maybe a whole department or even a whole organization, for example? How do you collect insight and turn it into the recognition of potential and realizing that potential through appropriate resources and agency to achieve something out there in the world? I'll talk in a little while about two case studies which I've been involved in. One was a €3 million EU-funded project with NASA. Another one was an ongoing program for women entrepreneurs that I've been on for about 10 years. And we'll look at how insight, potential, and agency are pipelined, how they each feed into each other in order for people to be developed individually and collectively, as well as at organizational and wider kind of scopes. But the aim today is to recognize that team coaching's main job really is about sustainability of productivity and performance. And it's done specifically through conservation of energy and conservation of people's intentions and their attention and their motivation. If there's too many intentions, unnecessary ones, or there's too much attention going on the wrong things, or there's problems with motivation, then this is going to affect productivity and performance, not just for individuals, but obviously for groups and organizations. Okay, so if we go on to the next slide. Oops, that's it. Thank you. All big changes in history, they happen typically through a revolution or some kind of paradigm shift. And in 2015, 10 years ago, I put together a paper where we were looking at paradigm shifts, and they all happen in 3 stages. Someone comes up with a new way of looking at things. There's a new mindset. Those mindsets are then put into practice through various techniques. And then to scale the availability of those techniques or practices, technology is brought in to distribute it to a wider audience. If there's any problems with the mindset, they usually show up when people start putting them into practice and the techniques. And if there's any problems with the techniques, they usually get seen when the technology scales things up and massively amplifies how they're actually used. If all goes well, the technology will actually lead to whole new mindsets. So that kind of cycle is what typically starts revolutions in industry and business. So if you go to the next slide. The examples of what's come out of those kind of cycles in history are industrial revolutions. So in the 1780s, that was probably the first industrial revolution where mechanization was used to manufacture textiles and fabric. And then in the 1870s, things like the assembly line and Henry Ford producing cars through assembly process led to the ideas and implementation of mass production. And Industry 3.0 kicked off in the 60s when computing was something that started to be used by businesses and industries on larger scales. But around 2012, systems started to get interconnected in a very wide kind of way, and not just computer systems, but wearable technologies, the era of the Internet of Things, IoT. And it was not long after that, around 2015, that the first ideas of Industry 5.0 came about, which were about making sure human beings flourished together with technologies. And since the pandemic, it's become really important for human well-being to be considered in the workplace, and human intelligence not to be discarded, especially with the rise of things like artificial intelligence. So a key theme of Industry 5.0 is ensuring that there's a collaborative approach to the use of digital intelligence and the emotional intelligence of human beings. Okay, go to the next slide. So I'll refer to a couple of case studies in what we're doing today. One of the projects I was involved with was actually helping design training to improve astronaut performance and coaching them at the International Space Station base in Turin, in Italy. It was a 3-year project, and €3 million EU Horizon 2020 funding was given for that. And in the pictures here, you can see me trying out some of the technologies, holographic technologies and wearable technologies for measuring stress, heart rate, and temperature. To an AI was being used to assess whether I'm in the right kind of state for the task that I was doing. And that's an area of simulation where we're actually looking at a future Mars mission, a manned Mars mission. What you see in the background there is a vehicle which is going to house up to 6 people to wander around the Martian terrain. And this is a simulated environment warehouse that we're in. And we're controlling what's actually being done with regards to the astronauts doing various tasks on that rover that's actually there. And on the right at the top, you can see one of the astronaut trainers in a mock-up of the space station units, testing out one of the holographic technologies, AI technologies that we're working with. So this was started in 2016, almost 9 years ago that we were doing this. And the team you can see at the bottom right, working with me in the orange fleece, with that big unit in the background there, with the stairs going up into it. So that was an example where we had to bring together people and technology, and we had to somehow get it to work in the environments that we're actually in. So there needs to be some harmony between those 3 things. So go to the next slide. The other case study that I've been working with for about 10 years is helping women entrepreneurs. They come together for a 9-month entrepreneurship program. And they typically spend about 3 months with me using my AI technology for coaching and mentoring, which was created back in 2008. And it's possible with that particular technology to get people to identify their priorities each day and to get them matched up with the other women in the group for thinking that will support them, that will challenge them and help them reflect key things that are required for effective teams. And in the end, they went and worked on specific kinds of projects, projects to do with business, projects to do with politics, as well as ecology. And the movie that you're seeing on the top right, that's actually a visual of the collective state of mind of the whole team over those 3 months. It's possible to watch it like a movie, like a forecast of weather. And it's really useful to identify where there were blocks and where there might be blocks in the future. The bottom right, you're seeing images of people being matched to each other according to their strengths and weaknesses. And where the colors are very similar, the 2 people are very similar. Where they're opposite, it means those 2 people have opposite strengths and weaknesses. And where they're complementary, there's a mix. Those are where they are good sounding boards for each other. So this is the technology that was used to help refine those teams. And if we go to the next slide, we can just pause for a moment and just show you what the overall view is that we're going to be looking at, that's really taken from the lessons of working with those kinds of projects. Industry 5.0 is really about joining together ecosystems of people, technologies, and also at the same time ensuring that the environment is actually looked after, that natural systems are looked after. The area that Industry 5.0 coaching and training, HR, learning and development focuses on really strongly is the intersections of these things. How do people get along with technology? How does technology influence the environment? And how does the environment affect our ability to work? So those overlap areas between the systems that are there for people and the systems there of varieties and diversity of technologies, and how they ultimately relate and impact the environment. Those crossover areas, they are the actual areas that most people are going to be doing tasks and activities in future workforces. So those are the Industry 5.0 workforce kind of operational areas. Now they center on three things. It's fundamentally anybody who does work in this area, especially if you're coaching executives or managers in this area, you're going to be focusing on a key kind of pipeline of development. And that pipeline is you're going to be working on diversity of people, integrating with the diversity of technologies, and they're going to be integrating with the diversity of environments. And in turn, those diversity of environments are obviously going to affect a diversity of people as well. So whoever's working in those spaces, any coaching that you do, the problems that they're going to come up with you to get help with are going to be in those territories. Now, you don't need to be a subject expert in those areas, but it's important for you to understand the dynamics that you might have to face with your clients, whether you're working with individuals or whether you're working with teams. Okay, if you go to the next slide. Okay, so if you look within any one of those ecosystems, you're going to find there are three things happening. There's learning going on, different kinds of learning. It could be micro-learning, collaborative learning, continuous learning. That learning will generate transferables transferable knowledge, transferable skills. And the technology ecosystems could be generating things like transferable data and transferable intelligence, for example. But if those transferables are going to be put to use, then they typically will be put to use through people. And people need skills in how to work with one another, this group of skills called synergy skills. And if those skills are good, things like collaboration, emotional and social intelligence, critical thinking, then those transferable assets, the knowledge, the intelligence, those kind of things, the data, it will effectively be disseminated to people and it will refine their learning. So this is a virtuous kind of circle, but it can go in reverse too. You can use learning, obviously, to improve people's synergy skills, and then that will ensure the right kind of transferable assets are created, and then that ultimately will improve learning. So like all systems in nature that are sustainable, this whole cycle is reversible. It works either way, clockwise or anti-clockwise. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now, coming to coaching, specifically for individuals and also for teams, the overlaps in those three areas in each of those ecosystems that are to do with learning and generating transferable skills, knowledge and data and synergy skills, the intersection of those areas is where coaching is probably going to be done a lot of work. Okay, so you can see that in learning, we're talking about micro-learning, doing little tasks of learning that could then be joined up together with other people through collaborative learning. And that will be done in a continuous way. And it'll be typically done for the lifelong period of that individual, that project that person's actually working on, or the team's working on. The aim of all that learning for each individual team or organization is to generate things that can be shared, what's called transferables. Okay, so typically people will talk about knowledge transfer in business or transferable skills, but there are some things that are probably better handled by technology, things like transferable data and knowledge and intelligence, information. But then there are other things that are probably better handled by human beings, like duties, responsibilities, and power and certain kind of behaviors. But it can't happen unless people have got skills to get things moving and spreading and sharing. Skills like literacy and how to collaborate, creativity, critical thinking, fostering trust, emotional and social intelligence. And if you do that right, then you come kind of full circle. Now, when you're trying to learn and you're trying to do it for a reason to generate something that can be shared, like duty or power or responsibility, these are, of course, bread and butter issues when it comes to coaching. And the intersection of those two things, as well as the intersection of how you take that stuff and through people make a difference and hopefully change learning, these are the things that you're going to find a lot of activity around when it comes to future workforces. So those intersectional areas are what I've called Coaching 5.0 workspaces. Wherever there's challenges between learning and transferables, between transferables and synergy skills, or between synergy skills and learning, or an intersection perhaps between all three of those, you're looking at a Coaching 5.0 challenge. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now, the problem is, where do you actually do things using human approaches and where do you do things using things like technology, like AI, for example. Now, in this slide, you can see on the left-hand side, I'm specifically looking at transferables, transferable knowledge, data, intelligence, duties, power, and responsibility. And you can see that when it comes to things like data and information, knowledge, intelligence, those kind of things in the future are probably going to be handled by AI and technology. Things that require human discretion, things like your duties, your responsibilities, any kind of power or decision making, for example, that's probably still going to be handled mostly by human beings. Although there are now systems like systems of AI agents that might be able to do that, but they still need human oversight if they're going to be doing things like that. The middle ground, the thing that bridges between the technologies and the human beings, are behaviors, because the technology in AI, it has behaviors that are transferable to other AIs, other technologies, and even other human beings. And it's similarly with human beings, they have behaviors too. They can transfer to one another, or they can even encode them into AI and technologies. All right. So the best kind of way to get technologies and people to work together in the future will be to find behaviors that they can couple into and work on together and exchange through. So don't be surprised if a lot of issues in the future in terms of coaching for executives and for teams is how do we identify behaviors that link together technologies and human beings. And some of those behaviors are going to be human related issues. Some of those behaviors are going to be technology related issues. Now, I'm not going to go into it too much, but on the right-hand side, I've given you a chart to show you the kind of things that AI and technologies are probably best suited for working with, and the kind of things that human beings and teams and organizations should work with as a whole. The most basic thing is to have rapport with your clients. If you don't have rapport, you're probably not going to be able to achieve much beyond that. And you can see basic kinds of rapport, like acknowledging someone, appreciating them. These kind of things can easily be done by AI. AI is pretty good at transactional change, working with something in the moment, and maybe helping someone generate content or work with their competence. So all these are lower common denominators of change, and AI is pretty good at handling those. But there are areas where there are grey zones. Things are in amber there. And those are the areas where some kind of human discretion is required, overseeing the use of AI, especially when it comes to issues where there's a boundary between coaching and therapy being about to be crossed, and you're about to work with someone's emotions a lot more than their challenges to do with their goals or things like that. So there are grey zones that you've got to be really careful of. And there's also legal grey zones that you can see at the top to do with things like the EU AI Act. Everything on the right in the red zones, these are the things that require human discretion and empathy and compassion and consciousness. And they also relate to helping people change not just what they do and how they do things, which are the lower common denominators of change, that do things like transactional or transitional or transformational change. They go into territories where you're looking to change who a person is. And that's transcendental change. You have to be really careful about, especially with regard to psychological safety, psychological bravery. And really, it's best that human discretion is used in those situations. So this chart's pretty useful in just giving you an idea of which areas are safe for AI and technologies to be used, which ones should be done really by human beings, and which ones it's okay to use technologies, but you need kind of human oversight over them. And those are the grey zones that you see here. Going to the next slide. You might have seen some of these kind of views about what AI and other technologies might have in terms of impact on jobs. There are ones that are really vulnerable to AI replacement. There's ones that AI can assist but not replace. And then there's ones that AI just cannot possibly replace. And a lot of those manual roles, the ones that require human discretion, you're typically going to find those are the ones that AI and other technologies can't replace. Anything which requires access or use of your humanity, your compassion, your empathy, anything which involves decision making at high levels to do with power, for example, you'll probably find that AI can't be working in those spaces. But anything which involves working with data with knowledge or intelligence or information, then anything repetitive, for example, probably AI can do. But even a novice coach who has got experience of their own humanity and has lived a little, providing they access that, they still have an advantage over an AI which doesn't have humanity, doesn't have its own kind of lived experience. AI will always borrow lived experience from human beings. And that's where the advantage is for human coaches, that they don't need to do that. They have at least a connection empathically to their own humanity and their own actual lived experience, from which they don't just get things like information and knowledge or intelligence, but they're also capable of actually demonstrating wisdom, for example, which is not something very easy to get out of an AI, for example. Okay, on the right, you can see there's a chart, and you can get access to this on the internet or through my LinkedIn. It's a chart, the top 40 issues that people bring to coaching sessions. It's a study that was done by Tatiana Vakarova from Oxford Brookes University with Peter Jackson. And they looked at what were the top issues that people brought to their very first session. And what I've done is listed those. And then what I did was I tried, according to three categories, three rubrics, to decide, is this an issue that AI could help with? Is this an issue really that should be best left to a human being to work with? Or is it there's some uncertainty here and it's okay to use the AI and maybe with some human oversight? So it's a good chart. Both these charts are pretty good, but especially the one on the right, because when it comes to using AI in the future, you might want to look at that chart and go, oh, okay, this particular kind of issue is probably best dealt with by a human being. Or, okay, AI can be used, but it needs human oversight. And lastly, this is an issue that a person can work on their own in an unsupervised way. And AI is pretty good at autonomously helping someone with that. But that kind of information is really helpful. Knowing just about the interaction of AI with individuals in different situations, including team-related work and project-related work. So you need these basic kinds of awareness before you look at scaling up the use of AI from individuals up to team levels and organizational levels. So we go to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to stop there now. And but before we do go out to the breakout room, Fabio, looking back at those things, what kind of things stood out for you that are going to be really important to consider when it comes to the use of AI and moving from just working with individuals, for example, and widening the scope to, say, teams and even right up to organizational levels? What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, no, first of all, I would like to thank you, and I would like to say thank you for people. So stay here because a lot of information and a very interesting presentation, Jazz. And as I was listening and watching the last, I say, slide that you presented in terms of what we can do from people in uncertain, or maybe from the AI, is something that bring me to reflect that we cannot fly away. We need to start to deal with that. Maybe we can disagree for some, if something can be done by both, by B, but everyone, I think, in this room start to talk to Chatty, start to write something to ChatGPT or any else and say, what do you think about that? Today, just to share with you, I was thinking about the feedback that we received from a coachee. And I say, if you had to rate from 1 to 5, what kind of grade rate would you like to say? And say, is excellent. Andrea was with me, Andrea Splendori, we talked it together. I say, what do you think about that? Yeah, so we cannot avoid that. And then day after day, if we start to interact more, we can use for our purpose instead of be overwhelmed. Because the lot of information to share with us today, I think are a lot, but are important. We need to know about that, because if we don't know, if you're not able to understand, someone else will use and will be in a better position compared to us. So I think what we are going to do now, and thank you so much again, Jazz, to being here today, is to think about how we can learn from, how we can use it as individual with individual as a coach or team coach with teams. And this is what we are going to see during the second part of today's presentation. So I would like to give us the time to reflect in the breakout room now that we are going to share, and afterward with the tool that I think 6 people you would like to have to practice the tool. So we have in online in-person presentation of the tool that Jazz create and is using for Teams. Makes sense? This is the rest of the part of the today. It's 90 minutes. I know it's a lot, but we have so many information to share, and we think that Egle presented this can be useful for everyone. So I know that a lot of people have the camera off, but we would like maybe to interact in groups of 6 people, 5, 6. So if in the breakout room you can interact, that would be great. Otherwise, we have, instead of 5, 4 people that can. We have 20 minutes per for this activity. And maybe we can share, Egle, what we expected during the session, and maybe I can add in the breakout room as well the information of perfect. So we ask you 2 questions. The first one is, what opportunities and challenges, of course, do you think that AA scaling bring to individual and team and at organizational levels? So what's going on? And the second question is, how can AI and human intelligence complement? So it's not a race, it's not one against others, but it's how we can use AI in coaching world. Maybe this is a question you already asked yourself or someone else gave you the answer. Sometimes I love to call AI instead of artificial intelligence is intelligence assistant. And maybe that can be help us to feel more comfortable when we talk with AI. But it's a very, very important part of our life from today on. So if we can, I can share with you this one in breakout room so you can have the questions. Let me copy and paste them. The rooms are ready. Okay, Egle already put in the breakout room. Let me recreate the rooms. We have 9 breakout rooms, and then recreate. Okay, some people left scared about that, so we can recreate maybe less 8. Okay, perfect. The rooms are ready. Minutes are ready. Open the rooms. Okay, thank you so much. Welcome back. Just few. We are conscious of time. We have a nice activity to do in a few minutes, so we ask you maybe two rooms. If you want to hands up, 2 rooms and 3 minutes each, and then we maybe have the opportunity at the end to talk about what we have from the breakout rooms and from the tool that Jazz will share in a few minutes. So, anyone want hands up? Otherwise, I will call. Yeah, okay.
Hand up for what?
For talk. Yeah, you. So your group, what came up from your group? If you can share, Mata.
Metanet, yes, it's like internet, metanet, easy.
Okay.
Yeah, we have an interesting discussion, and we focused on opportunities. Yeah, so not so less so much challenges looking forward. It was unanimous and view that it's really unfolding fast, and we could use it for productivity. And improvement, and we have coaches who use it for research mainly, and for the also like backup of research, for then they validate through in-person coaching. We have Alona, the one of the lady from Ukraine but living in Spain. She's shared with us wonderful also AI tool for visualization, metaphoring. So we're learning it. Yeah, so we're really exchanging experiences. Yeah, so then we shared the kind of not worries, but with thoughts that, of course, that the technology evolving, uncertainty evolving. So we are kind of good understanding of the be conscious, conscious to this new technology, how we use it, mindfully approach it.
A lot of
I
energy.
invite my team, this group, to maybe I missed something to add. Thank you.
So from your voice, a lot of energy and a lot of positiveness, correct? Not fear at all. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, no, we didn't have. It didn't seem that we had a fear.
Okay,
We
that's
we
good.
we were maybe not so enthusiastic, over enthusiastic like me, because I'm very enthusiastic about that. But in principle, we are kind of, yeah, conscious about this. Mhm.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for your sharing. Another, yeah. Now, Jazz, do you want to say something, or you want to ask to someone else?
No, no, just listening.
Okay, just listen one more, please. Then we move. I'll ask.
I can jump in, Fabio.
Yes,
There
Kiran,
was
ciao.
Ciao. There's a good conversation. There was five of us in the group, different levels of experience with actually using it. So it was very interesting to hear some of the people had been part of either a launching of an AI tool as part of the kind of first early adopters, and then other people that had used it more in those kind of larger group settings. There was a couple of different use cases. A couple of them were really supporting the coach and providing the coach with insights in terms of the questions, the type of questions, the time spent talking, open, closed-ended questions, and kind of just checking patterns of conversation in a way to improve, I guess, the coach's style, and therefore the coachee benefiting as a result of that. Also, that use case can be expanded to supervision and having AI doing some of the supervision around that. And in also kind of trying to get more efficiently to the end goal. We did talk about not really concerns, but potentially technology and AI making certain mistakes. And then there was also conversation around some of the areas that Jazz shared, which were ticked as AI, and whether we truly believed or we would trust AI taking the lead in some of those conversations in our experience. So we were just thinking it would be interesting to go through that to kind of have a conversation around some of those areas, because probably some of them are grayer than others.
Just to add, Kieran, that table that you saw, which classifies which issues are best worked with by AI, human, or AI human integration. I'm in the process of putting together a design for study where we put that out to a lot of coaches and we ask them, based on the criteria that we provide, what do you think? Do you think this should be something that only humans, coaches, should work with? Or is it something you could hand over and offload to AI? Or it's okay to work with AI on this, but it requires the coach to oversee and supervise exactly how the client works with it. So those three categories, we're in the process of designing a study which we're going to put out to coaches, and then we'll get actually the real feel for what coaches really think about, not just what's possible, but really what should be allowed.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I don't think that there was any resistance from anyone in the group. I think it was more some of us are unaware of the areas or still unaware of the areas where we can really leverage this technology to help us and help our clients.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kieran. Yes, I think great insight from you as well. And I'm sure that everyone would like to add something, but maybe we need conscious of time to give back again the opportunity to Jess to present the tool. Maybe you can introduce and ask if there are any volunteers, and we can maybe wrap up at the end. Go ahead, Jess.
Great, thank you. What I'm going to do now is going to do a quick demo of how I'm just going to cover two parts of working with AI with an individual, and then taking that information about the individual and using AI to match that individual with another person in a team. So the person can discover who in the team is very similar to them and might be best able to support them. Who in the team has got strengths where they've got weaknesses, and vice versa, and might be a good devil's advocate and be someone that will challenge them and maybe stretch them, and who's got a mix of similar and opposite qualities and might be a good person to be a sounding board for reflection. Those three things, support, challenge, and reflection, they're like vitamins. You kind of need to get them every day in the right doses. If you don't, then you typically don't get to grow. if you have vitamin C, for example, and you miss it for a day, it might not cause too much of a problem. But if you've not had vitamin C for months, it's going to cause disease. It's actually going to lead to dysfunction. It's the same thing with support, challenge, and reflection. If nobody gives you support for a day and it's not critical, you can get by. But if nobody supports you for months, or nobody challenges you for years, or you don't stop to reflect and contemplate things for decades, all these things result in problems, whether it's a midlife crisis or whether it's something else. So each day we need support, challenge, and reflection in the right doses, from the right sources, and at the right time. If you get them at the wrong times, from the wrong sources, then that can actually be not good for you in terms of your growth. For example, if someone colluded with you and supported a behavior which wasn't healthy for you instead of challenging you, that's not good. But if someone challenges you at a time when you could have done with support, that's not great either. And lastly, if someone gets you to act quickly without thinking enough, that's not good. And also overthinking and not acting enough is also not so good. So getting the right support, challenge, and reflection for everything that you do is really important. And if you get the mix wrong, then it can actually undermine your growth. Now, that's just at an individual level. How do you then scale that for a team and ensure that a person can get support from somebody else in their team on a given day? And it's dynamic. Someone who was the best person to support you yesterday might not be the best person to support you today. They might actually be the best person to challenge you or stretch you. But how do you know? How often do we go to the same person for the same kind of help? And either they're not available, or they're not in the mood, or there's something else going on. So when we seek help, or we aim to help others, especially in a team environment, it's really important that we find the best sources of support, of challenge, and reflection on a daily basis. And providing we do, then not only will we grow, but the team that we're working with as a whole will grow. And hopefully the purpose of it, the aim of it, whatever it's trying to achieve in terms of a goal, will be completed. And on a wider scale, it means the organization is more productive, its performance is good, and it can do things in ways which are actually sustainable. Now, I've just talked about people here, but of course, with the use of AI, there's a big impact on the environment, especially the use of power and natural resources. So there's only so much growth AI can do without it starting to affect the environment in a way which negatively impacts back on us. And then we might need to turn down the dial a bit, because if every prompt costs a mobile phone charge or a glass of water and billions of people are using it at the same time, that's suddenly a huge, huge impact on the environment. And as much as we may want to use AI, we may get to a point where we just can't, because the environment just can't support it. Now, quantum computing is coming up around the corner. It's much more energy efficient. So maybe there's possibilities if AI starts to get transferred to things like that. But that's something that's not readily available to most people, and probably won't be for quite a few years yet. So in the meantime, we do need to consider the environment. That's why we need to take an Industry 5.0 mindset to everything that we're doing. Look at people ecosystems. How do they work with those technology ecosystems? How do they help one another? And lastly, how do we make sure that those don't negatively impact the environment in a way where it comes back on the people ecosystems and the technology ecosystems and undermines them? We don't want that to be undermined. We want all three to work in a harmonized way. So people intelligence works with technology and AI intelligence, and that works with the intelligence of nature as well. Providing we work with all three and cultivate all three in a harmonious way, then we've got something that's sustainable, not just for our own growth, but also for business and also for the rest of life on Earth. So I'm just speaking in advance by making sure you're conscious that this is the spirit of Industry 5.0 approaches and what we're doing. Now, just as a demo, as I said, let's do a quick one where I do a profile of some volunteers. Then the AI platform I have will identify what their priorities should be, where they should support themselves, in other words, what kind of mindset. And then it will actually match them to the other people in the group and identify who's the best person to support them, which one's similar to them. which one's opposite to them and will challenge them, and which one's complementary and will be a good sounding board for them. So let's do that now. I need just 5 volunteers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an email to log on and a password to my website. And you're going to log on with your email and password. And we're going to quickly go through a questionnaire to just look at how you're currently meeting your needs and what emotional and social intelligence you're doing it with. And then we're going to turn the numbers into an image, and the AI behind it is going to use the numbers to identify which people have similar mindsets, opposite ones, and complementary ones. And that's usually the basis for how a team would begin their day. They know who to go to for support. They know someone knows who to go to get challenged and stretched. They know who to go to think something through. And providing they get that each day, then obviously that team will start to flourish. And flourishing is a big thing when it comes to Industry 5.0, whether it's humans, whether it's nature, whether it's organizations. The key driver is to get things to flourish. Okay. All right. So let's have some volunteers, and it should take about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to do, and then we can quickly look at the results before we finish. All right. Put your hand up, and whoever gets a hand up first gets to have a go. And what I'll do is in the chat area, I'll just give you your email and your login details, and also the website that you've got to go to, and then we can actually begin. All right. So let me just get the website link for you and put it into the chat area for each of you that put your hand up. And let me just put that there. Okay. Right. So Sarah's first. So what I'm going to do is I'm in the chat, Sarah. I'm going to just put the details for you to log in, including the website you've got to go to. So go to the website, stick in the email address, okay, and stick in the password, and you should be able to log on, okay? All right, and next we have James. All right, so let's have James. Martin. Give you okay, that's one for you, James. Then we have Neil Griffith. Okay. So that's you, Neil. That's 3 people. Nikki, let's try you. Okay, that's you, Nikki. In your chat area, you should have that. Rachel. And one more person after that. Okay. And Kirsty, you're the last person. Okay, so if you have put your hand up and you haven't been picked, you can put it back down. So Kirsty, I'll find you and put your login details in. Okay. All right. So just keep for those 6 that have just come on, Sarah, have you managed to log on?
I need to register first. So I'm doing
No,
that.
you shouldn't. No, don't register.
Okay.
You can go straight to login using
All
the
right.
email I provided and
All
the
right.
password. So you're already registered. I've just given you login details, okay?
Just an email not registered. Okay. But I'll ICF French 2025.
Neil, James, have you managed to log in?
Not yet, but I'm
Not
going to
allowing me. Please try again. Okay.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm in.
Good. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just going to do a double check to make sure I can log in with those details. I did just check just now. But I'm just going to make sure that your one works.
Sorry, Jazz, my internet connection dropped and the chat link just dropped.
Okay.
Everybody
Do
want
you have login details?
Are we meant to be doing anything yet, Jazz, or are we just waiting?
No, yeah, no.
That's all right for you.
So who hasn't logged in yet?
So if you could pop back in the link, I do have the email and the password written down, but
Okay.
I just need the link again, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
This is the login that we're putting in that you've provided.
Yeah, so just use that email and that password to log in. You don't need to register. It's pre-registered.
Yeah.
I've created some accounts ready to go, basically.
All right. I'm still trying and it's not allowing me. But
Which one's yours? It's ICF 00.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
mine is 03 2025.
Yeah, that's right. ICF IRE 032025.
Yeah.
I just logged on with that just now, so it should work.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Jazz, I'm not. Could you just call out the link, please, for the
Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen so everybody can see. Bear with me one moment. All right.
Right. No, it's still not allowing me.
Okay, so you should go to the energydiamond.com website. Okay. And then if you go to login at the top, button for that, right?
Yes.
And you see on the left-hand side, there's an area for you to put in your email. And I'm just going to put in 00 there.
All right.
With the password, log in, and it logs me in fine. So it should be okay for you.
I put in.
All right, but what we do, we'll get started in the meantime. And because I just need to go, once you're logged in, at the top, you'll see there's a space for questionnaire, atmoscape questionnaire. Click on that. And once that screen comes up, just underneath the logo, you'll see a link for a quick questionnaire. Okay, so we're just going to use that. All right. So atmoscape questionnaire, and then go to quick questionnaire at the link under the logo. All right. Okay, so this is a quick questionnaire covering 5 different areas of needs. It's to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, mental, physical, emotional, those kind of things, but it also includes an initial area to do with what your energy comes from, your life values and morals, those kind of things. So the first section is really about the values or morals or code of conduct that you live your life by. And then the remaining sections you'll see are about your physical needs, emotional, intellectual, creative. So it's going along the same hierarchy as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In each section, there are 3 questions about you and there are 3 questions about others. So 3 questions about your emotional intelligence and 3 questions related to social intelligence, how you work with others. It's really about how well are you meeting those needs for yourself and how well are you helping to help others meet their needs. Okay. So what I want you to do is just put your mouse, click into the very first box on the right on question 1 and click in there and put in a number between 0 and 10. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out right now and I'm going to actually log on as myself. That way you can see what I'm doing. Oops. Okay. All right, so go to the questionnaire, quick questionnaire. All right, the very first question, the first area, remember what I said, it's about your values, your motivation that in your life and what drives you. The first question is a question of emotional intelligence awareness, self-awareness. Right now, if you look at yourself, how well do you think you know what your own values are? How aware are you of your own kind of morals and things that guide you and motivate you in your life? So this isn't about whether you live them or not. It's just about how conscious are you of them? How aware are you of them? So in that first box, put in a score between 0 and 10, which represents how well you think you know your own values and your own motivations and morals, if you like. In my case, I know them pretty well. So I'm going to give myself a pretty high score of about 8. If you don't know them at all, you might put in a 3 or something, or if you're average, maybe a 5 or a 6. Okay. Once you put that score in, then you can go and click in the box underneath. This one is actually asking how well are you actually living those values, as opposed to just being aware of them. How well do you actually follow through on them and live them, and practically from a practical perspective? Okay, so again, I'm going to maybe put about a 7. I'm not always as true to myself as I'd like to be. And lastly, if I need to change my values and morals because some of them are just not working for me, how good am I at being able to do that? I'm pretty good at that, so I'm going to give myself about an 8. All right, so those 3 questions about self-awareness, self-management, and self-evolution around your morals and values. Okay, I would ask the same questions about how well you're able to do these things with other people. Okay, so the next question is the same question as the first question, but it's about other people. How could you helping other people become conscious of what their values are, their morals, and their codes of conduct, and their awareness, if you like? As a coach, how good are you able to help other people connect into being able to observe and be conscious of what their values actually are? I do that pretty well, so I'm going to give myself maybe a 7. In terms of helping them to live those values, that's always a bit more harder work. So for me, I'm actually going to be humble here and give myself a 6. Okay. And helping them change their values if what they're doing isn't appropriate for them and what they're trying to achieve in their life. That's, again, not so easy, but I'm going to give myself a 7. All right. So 3 questions about you and 3 questions about others. All right. Is everybody pretty clear about how that flows? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're going to do the same thing now in the next section. Now you know the flow, you should be able to go through it a little bit quicker. So this is about your physical survival, your well-being, your welfare, and your wealth, the 3 worlds, as I call it, all right? It's just to do with the stuff that you need to survive in life, okay, and get by. So the first question is about how well do you know about how you're surviving right now? Okay, so if you were to connect into your observation of how you're surviving in life, how good is your observation? How good are you able to recognize how well you're surviving? It's not about whether you're surviving or not. It's just about how well are you able to observe it. All right. So in my case, I'm pretty clued in about how I'm surviving. So I'm going to give myself a 7. In terms of getting my needs actually physically met and actually surviving, how well am I doing practically? I'm going to give myself a 6 because I've not been well for the last few years. And that's why I'm going to give myself a lower score there. In terms of changing my habits to ones that help me survive better, how am I good at that? I'm still going to give myself maybe a 6 today. All right, so those are about me. Now other people. How good are you at helping other people become aware of what's going on in their survival? I'm pretty good at that and give myself a 7. Helping them to survive practically, I'm going to give myself a 7. But changing the way that they're surviving, that's a bit more difficult for a lot of the people I've been working with. So I'm going to give myself a 6. So this is not necessarily about how good I am. It's about how well am I able to help others be good at what they do. Okay. Remember, that's always going to be the focus in the second section. First section is about your personal emotional intelligence. Second, about your social intelligence and how you help other people meet those needs. The third section is about emotion and your feelings, your self-esteem, how you relate with people, and self-confidence. So the first question is about how tuned in are you to how you feel about yourself, your own feelings. Okay, I'm pretty tuned in. I'd give myself at least an 8. In terms of actually being emotionally intelligent in everything I do, not lately. I'm going to give myself, I'll give myself a 6. All right. In changing, although I've not been great, I've been doing the work. So I'm going to give myself a 7 in terms of changing things that aren't working for me, in terms of me working with my feelings. In terms of helping others to get a sense of their own feelings, I'm pretty good at that. I'm going to give myself an 8. Helping them be emotionally intelligent, practically, demonstrably, maybe not so much, a 7. How good am I helping them change that emotional intelligence, how they feel about themselves? That's a bit more hard work. I'm going to give myself a 6. All right. Is everybody keeping up so far? Yeah, good. This section is about intellect, how you think about things, your worldview. How good are you observing your own thoughts? Okay, I'm pretty good at that. I'm going to give myself a 9. In terms of thinking, the way I need to think about things, when I need to be logical, can I do that? When I need to work more on my intuition, can I do that? Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I'm going to give myself an 8. And changing, switching between, say, logical or intuitive, when what I'm doing isn't working. I can do that too, but that's not so easy for me. I'm going to give myself a 7. Helping others get aware of their own thoughts, it's my job. Give myself an 8. Helping them to actually practice thinking in the way that's required for what they're trying to do, that's a bit more difficult. And change their thinking to one that's more empowering for them. Yeah, that's again difficult. Give myself a 7. Okay, last section. This is to do with you making a creative difference in the world. Okay, this is self-actualization bit of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, it's to do with creativity in the original sense, like artistic and those kind of things. But really, it's about creating a difference in the world. Okay, so looking at yourself right now, how good do you think you are in terms of just being aware of the creative difference that you're making in the world? Okay, I'd give myself about 6 for now. And in terms of me actually living that stuff and doing what's creative and making the difference, again, I'm going to be deliberately low on that. I'm going to give myself a 5. And changing the way I'm being creative, changing the way I'm making a difference all the time. Doing a lot of experimentation on that front. 8. Helping others to get a sense of what difference they're trying to make in their life. How conscious are they of it? How they're able to observe that. I'm give myself a 7 to that. Helping them to actually achieve their purpose or their difference they're trying to make in the world. Give myself a 7. And change their purpose or their drive to make a creative difference in the world when what they're doing hasn't worked out. That's a bit harder. I'm going to give myself a 6. All right, has everybody got up to this point? Okay, great. Give your profile a name. Just use a word of some kind. It's arbitrary. It's just for your own use. And I'm just going to put team coaching. No spaces, just letters, no numbers or anything. Okay, yeah. So just letters and numbers, no spaces. All right, just put that in. For security, type in my name with a capital J in that section at the bottom. Okay, and then I want you to push the process profile button. Okay.
Is Jazz J, capital J, and Rasool as well with capital R?
No, just the first name, JAZZ with a capital J. Yeah. All right. So what's immediately come up is the AI has analysed all those numbers and it's identified a need which all the other ones seem to be dependent on. It's like the centre of gravity of all your needs. Everything's balancing on. Today's priority, that's what that is. And the first thing you'll see is either tell you that what you need to focus on today is either helping yourself or helping others. And then it'll tell you the kind of emotional intelligence you need to engage with. Okay. In this case, it's talking about building and developing. It's that self-development stage of emotional intelligence beyond self-awareness and self-management. And in my case, it's saying I really need to focus on evolving my values in life. And what you also notice at the bottom is in the life path thing, it's giving you the mindset that deep down you're trying to align to. And in this case, the word that's important is the first word, intuitive or logical. It's telling you that if you're going to work on that priority, then you should do it using your intuition. Don't try and be logical and rational, make a plan about it. Just go with the flow, trust your feelings, and so on. If it says logical, it's saying you need to work with it in a logical, rational, structured way. Make a to-do list, make a plan. If you mix these two things up, that's when people get into trouble. Now, what I want you to do is, having done that, is I want you to go to the latest profile social DNA matches on the top right. Okay. And what you'll find in there is, in the first instance, you should see your name at the top. Okay. If you don't see your name at the top, just go back to completed profiles and make sure this switch is on, that your profile is visible to others. Okay. You can turn that off or you can turn that on. All right. Now, if I go back to the similar matches, it turns out ICF Ireland 11, whoever that is, okay, I'm 40% similar to you in terms of my mindset, my thinking, and where my needs are being met well and where they're not. Okay. And if I actually look at who is the most opposite to me, who's got strengths, for example, where I've got weaknesses, I see Ireland 15. That'll be, I think it was you, Kirsty. You're the person who's my devil's advocate for today. You're the best person to challenge me and stretch me. Okay. But it's mutual. I get to do that with you too. All right. That's the beauty of this. It goes both ways. And if we go to the complementary list, ICF Island 14, you're the person who's most complimentary to me and the best person to go to for me as a sounding board, for me to reflect things through. Now, that's the view from my side. From your side, you might have a higher score or a lower score. Okay, because it matches things differently in different directions. Okay, so I just wanted to stop there because for today, if I had a team of all of you, I would know that the best person to go to for me to reinforce what's working for me and support me is whoever ICF Island 11 is. Okay. The best person to challenge me and stretch me today is ICF Island 15. And the best person to go to for me to think something through with is ICF Island 12. All right. I'm just conscious of time because we're due to finish, and I'm going to just stop sharing there for a moment. You can see that I've got options here to message that person, and it'll bring up a little message box and it'll send a message to that individual. It'll send a message to their email. Obviously, the emails that we use today are the ones that I've created for you, but in reality, that person could have a chat with them. And also there's possibility for people to include networking links like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. So as well as being able to message them that way, you can just click on their Facebook icon and go straight to Facebook or LinkedIn and send a message for them and begin your exchange with them that day through that kind of process. All right, so something you probably didn't see, and I'll just finish with, if you go back to completed profiles, you can see the topmost thing there is your latest kind of profile. You can click on the link under description. But what you'll see under the basic chart section up here is you'll see all your colors that represent a picture of your state. So what I've done is I've taken the scores, laid them out in rows, and in a paint by numbers way, turn them into colors. Okay, this is a visual image of your state of mind on this particular day. In my case, I can see on the top left, that's an area I'm not doing too well in terms of my own creativity and my own awareness and working on that. I'm pretty good on the intellectual side for myself, as well as with other people. And generally, you can see that the right-hand side is less kind of red and amber than the left-hand side, which means I'm much better helping other people than I am helping myself. But like I said, I'm going to just stop sharing there for a moment now. And I think just to finish, it'd be good to get some feedback from who you were each matched to. Maybe I'll just pick two of you and then we'll finish for now. Sarah, and who actually got to see what their top match, similar match was that day? Nikki, did you know who yours was?
So I was looking at my little coloured map. Well, it said, I'm trying to find out where it is, sorry. So similar or complementary or opposite? Which ones were you?
Who was the most similar to you?
Most similar to me was 15, ICF 15.
Yeah, that's Kirsty.
36% similar.
Okay. So Kirsty, you and Nikki will be really good at supporting each other today if you were in a team and you were needing some help on some tasks. And they don't need to be working on the same tasks, but your mindsets are ones where you could really help one another out and support one another. Who's the most opposite to you?
You.
Okay, so I'll be the person who'll be your devil's advocate for the day. Right, I'm the one who push you and challenge you and stretch you around some of the things that you actually like to say.
Can I ask a question about the logical versus intuitive? You said, because mine was logical versus intuitive. What does that mean?
It means that your mindset today at deep level is oriented towards being logical and being rational and realistic and structured in what you do. Okay. If you're intuitive, you're more focused on going with your feelings and your imagination, not necessarily working to a plan or rules, and just going with the flow with things. All right. So those are the two kind of oversimplified descriptions of those two. So typically someone who's very logical is going to be pretty much opposite to someone who's very intuitive, for example. All right. But you do get some individuals who, sorry, go ahead.
The results say you're in this mindset today, so that's why tomorrow it might be intuitive or different context.
It's the mindset you're in deep down at the character level, not necessarily at the personality level. Okay, so it's important to bear in mind that when that's specified, it's looking at what's going on deep down rather than what's going on at the surface. Right, and if you align to that, you'll probably make the best use of your energy for the day because you're literally not going against yourself. Yeah, you're in alignment. And if you have somebody else who supports you who's also in alignment, then together you're going to be able to conserve energy, your attention, and other things much more effectively in whatever tasks you actually do. Who's the best complementary match for you?
How does it say that? Oh, complementary. You.
Again, okay, that's interesting. Sometimes you do get individuals who are top match and complementary level as well as one of the other two. And it's like they're a superfood. They're giving you two different vitamins all in one person. And that's a good person to go and spend time with for the day to help you out. On average, if you look at someone's scores and their average score across all three is the highest, then that person is the equivalent of being an avocado. You know, they're the ones who are superfood for your day. If you're going to pick one person in your team, you might as well go to that individual. All right. So how this is done in practice is I often do this without technology first. I do this just asking some questions, putting people into groups, and then afterwards, we then scale it up using the technology and refine it in terms of the team dynamics. But that's something maybe I'll demonstrate another day. But thanks, Nikki, for at least just sharing with me how it shows up like that. Thanks everybody else for taking part. You can obviously check in with the other people that are there, and if you know who they are. And another time, you can actually try this out for real as opposed to it being just a demo. All right. Thanks, everybody. Fabio, we're ready to wrap up now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Jazz, for such an insightful session. And we're just scratching the surface, and we're just starting to really explore the space. So looking forward for next iterations of similar conversations in the future, and appreciate you sharing your insights and wisdom today. I'm very mindful that we are beyond that initial time which we allocated for the session. So if you want to continue the conversation with Jas, please do so. You can connect with Jas over LinkedIn. So I just shared the link where you can connect with him directly. And I just wanted to share, and I saw that Fabio already in the chat window kind of announced the upcoming team coaching circles, which are already penciled in for the next 3 months. And the next one is on team coaching supervision. We have our own Carmel Harney, who is on this call. Carmel will join us in the next session to walk us through the team coaching supervision theme. So really looking forward to see you all in 1 month's time. And thank you for your presence and engagement today. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.